Okay, so I've just got these last few elevations to do. I'll do them all in one go in this one video, and so you can see they're all pretty similar, and really just based on rectangles that are then going to be exploded, and that's really the trick with all of these later exercises. So I'll start with the one that's up and to the right there, or up and to the left of those elevations, the window elevation there. And so again, drawing a rectangle to begin that, you can type in the coordinates 17,500, 6,500, enter, and then for the size of the rectangle, I'm going to type at 1800, 2100, enter, and then I'll zoom right in on that rectangle and go straight to the modify menu and choose explode, choose the rectangle, and again press enter. So I'm now left with 4 separate lines, which I'll then offset separately. So you've got a 40mm frame there, which is not actually typical. A lot of windows are drawn with a 50mm window jamb or frame, but I'm just going to stick with what it's got there. So offset I'm going to use on the modify menu, and then 40 is the distance, enter. I can choose each line and offset them separately. They could have been offset together when it was one complete rectangle, but it makes it easier to have them as separate lines when I go on to the next part. So enter to finish, and now I can use fillet, and I'm going to check that it's got a 0 radius, so it's set to 30 at the moment. I'm just going to type R, enter, 0, enter, and choose each pair of lines, and then enter to repeat the fillet command, and I'll choose another pair of lines, enter, and then again another pair, enter, and the final pair. So now I'm going to draw some lines, starting with a line that I'm going to draw through the centre. So I'm going to draw from the midpoint at the bottom to the midpoint at the top, enter, and then I'll go to offset again, and this time make the distance 20mm. So that way I can choose the line I've just drawn, which is a centre line, and then click to one side, and then I'll choose that original line again and click to the other side. Enter one more time, and I'll just zoom in so I can select that centre line now and delete it. And that's common practice in AutoCAD, drawing in a centre line to work from, and then if you don't need it, taking it away later. And so now I'm just going to go to offset again, and this time we need to bring that line up 80mm from the very base of the window frame, so not 800mm. So I'm going to type that distance in, 800, enter, choose the bottom line, click above, enter, and then back to offset, and this time I just want to come down 40mm to get that last piece in. So 40 is my distance, enter, and I can choose the line, click below, press enter. I've got all the lines I need for that window frame, and so now I'm just going to use trim, and I'm not going to select any cutting edges. I'm going to press enter, which will move me on to the next point where it asks you to select objects that you want to trim, and it's made everything into a cutting edge. So I can pick any line and it'll cut back to the nearest thing, and that way I don't have to choose any cutting edges. take all the lines away that I don't want. So enter one more time, and that one's done. So the remaining two are actually a little bit, well, there's a few more commands, but they're a little bit quicker because there aren't as many steps. So the door elevation, again, can be drawn with a rectangle. I'll just check that coordinate. So starting at 18,800, comma 2200, and then at 900 across, comma 2100 vertically. And then again, before I do anything much with this, I'm going to explode it. So I'll choose explode first from the menu, and then choose the border of the rectangle, enter, and now that's again separate lines. And so with the door, you again have a 40mm frame or door jamb, but it's only on 3 sides, so this can show you why it's helpful to explode that right at the beginning. So then with offset, 40mm is the distance again, but I'm going to choose just the 3 sides left and right, clicking to the inside each time afterwards, and then the top line as well, and clicking below. And enter to finish, and then using fillet, I'll join those 3 lines together, so starting with the pair on the left, and I'll press enter and then join the pair on the right. And now I want to come in 120mm for the style. So the style is something you have in any panel door, and that's really most doors that aren't modern hollow core doors. And so it's the part running around, it's the main frame running around the door panel itself. And in this case, it's got glass inside that panel or that frame. So the style's 120mm. And so again with offset, I'm just going to type in 120, enter, and choose each of those lines on the inside of the door jamb, and then the base of the door. And then with fillet, you can join these lines together. And the way the chevron, that arrow there, if you don't know, is called a chevron, and that shows the direction that the door opens. The way that's drawn, I think, is actually a little bit incorrect. It should be drawn over the door itself, not just the glass. And so I'm simply going to draw that with a line, but I'm going to draw it from the corner of the door frame, or the inside of the door jamb, then to the midpoint on the side of the door jamb, and down to the corner of the door panel again. That's the finished door. And then finally the last window is basically drawn in a similar way to the others, but with the addition of that arc at the top. So there are a couple of ways of drawing that arc, but it's very similar to what you've done in the earlier exercises. Sorry, it's just waking up. So there we go. So again, just drawing a rectangle to begin with. Starting at 23,100, comma 3,000, and then at 1,000, comma 1,800. So drawing the bottom part first, so just up to here, and then with offset, with explode first. I'll explode this again, and I'll just select that rectangle, enter, to make it separate lines, and then offset the parts that I want. So with offset this time, we've got a 40mm again window jamb going inside each of those lines, and then you have another 40mm window, well, it's the frame of the window itself. So it's the window style really. And then we can fill at each of those lines. Now if they'd have been offset as rectangles, that'd be fine here, but later they would need to be exploded for the next part. So it doesn't hurt just to fill it them individually. And so now, to draw that last part, if you do the maths, you'll work out the difference between those is 500, which is actually half the distance across. So a good way of drawing that arc is to use arc start centre end. And then if you click on the corner on the top right, start it, then go to the midpoint on the top of that window jamb, or top plate, then across to the other corner. That'll give you an arc that fits exactly across that window width, and then you can offset that arc 40 mil, bring it inside. Again, use fillet to join those lines together and join it with the arc. And then finally, to put the beading in, you can simply draw lines through the midpoints of the lines on the side of the window. The first for the sash, essentially, of the window. And then to divide up the that fan light, you can use divide. Under draw and then point, you have divide. And then once you select the arc, you can type in 5 for the number of segments, which will give you the points similar to one of the previous exercises. And then draw a line snapping to those points, and then to the midpoint at the base, then to the node again, enter to stop drawing that line, and then I've got to draw a new line again from one of the nodes to the base, and then back to the other node. And so if that's done and you don't want the points to be there anymore, you can select them with a window going left to right and go just over those points, but not the other lines and the arcs, and delete them. And that's that final window finished. So you'll see there's one little remaining exercise which I'm not going to cover. You can hopefully work it out. And it's this little survey mark. It's drawn just with a circle and some lines. But then also, if you read through the notes, you'll see there's a section on, oops, sorry, going back the other way. And hiding my tools there. There we go. So you'll see there's a section on dimensions. Oh, and I've put that upside down. So towards the what is it? So page 26. A section on text actually to begin with, and then a section on dimensions. And so read through that. It'll give you a good idea of the things you need to think about with text and dimensions, and I'm going to look at that later when you're doing your main assignment. But I'll come back to this exercise and use it as an example. And so again, if you can read through that, it'll give you an idea about text and scale and how they work together. And so you'll see with text, it has this table on your text heights and your scales. And then following on, there's a section on dimensions, which also work with scale in a similar way. I'll just finish that video there, and that's all of them done. Actually, I'll just, to tidy that up, take out those last parts of that exercise as well. So that's everything done.